Canada Post and the union representing its 53,000 workers have reached a tentative deal. It would bring to an end a years-long labour dispute, which led to 2 national strikes. The union representing workers said the two sides are still working through the language that will result in a deal. It can then be voted on by its members. And until then, the union says it won't strike, and the Crown Corporation says it won't lock out employees. The agreement comes after over 2 weeks of renewed bargaining between the two sides. My next guest is the Toronto local president of the Canadian Union of Postal Workers, Mark Lubinski, joins me now. Mark, good to speak with you. I think a lot of people have a lot of questions about this and are hoping that this is the beginning of the end. This dispute has been going on for a long time. So how big of a deal is it that you've now got a tentative deal?
Well, good evening, Sarah. Thank you for having you on. Yes, it's a very good news. The agreement in principle is great, and the fact that we agreed as a union to stop our rotating strikes is great news for Canadians. They can mail their packages, mail their letters. Black Friday's coming up. Flyers will be delivered. Everything looks optimistic. I hope they're able to have tentative agreement done soon, which would mean the wording is hammered out, the musts and the shalls are all put in properly, so we could, as members, we could vote on this agreement. But that would be probably 2-3 months out. But at this time, the union agreed, as long as things are moving smoothly, that there will be no strike, there is going to be no flyer ban, no overtime ban, and there will be no national strike, as long as everything is going smoothly. And I'm very optimistic both Canada Post is serious about having a collective agreement that is ratifiable by our membership.
We don't know the details here, but can you tell us a little bit about why you think this deal is great and why you think, I suppose, your colleagues will think it's great?
Well, the fact that our national union and our negotiators feel this agreement in principle is going to a written form where they're hammering out the language for a tentative agreement. The fact that our union is saying yes to this, yes, yes. So I think hopefully Canada Post is offering something that we're able to accept as a membership. Our members are tired. We all want Canada Post to be successful. We want the public service to be a sustainable post office. We want this contract to be over, and we want a contract that is signed, and we could go on and still be able to fight for Canadians for a public postal services that is successful, where we could still fight for not having door-to-door delivery go away in Canada, because we know seniors, which make up 40% of the population with people with disabilities, want their mail delivered to the home. Large portions of Toronto, where I live, in the large urban centers, have door-to-door delivery. They want that to continue on. We don't want to see continuation of these different trucks, white trucks parked on our streets, delivering for all sorts of companies. Well, our Pure Later, our competition, delivering parcels to the door, which is owned by Canada Post. That fight will continue on. But Canada Post, the labor disruption will be over, and we could go on and fighting for Canadians to have a sustainable post office that Canadians want.
Mark, I just want to follow up here because I think a lot of Canadians have heard recommendations that the door-to-door delivery, and these coming from on high, that at least for large portions of the country, that it needs to end. How does that fight continue?
Well, who's saying it needs to end? We have a commissioner, the government agreed for it to end. It's going to cost billions of dollars to create community mailboxes. It's going to cost billions of dollars. It is possible in the last year, letter mail has actually increased by 2%. Revenues have increased by over $500 million. So letter mail, one might think it's dead. It's not dead. The plant I work at South Central, it's filled to the brims. So, it is up to us, seniors, the public, and there's been a large demand, but what is for door-to-door delivery? But right now, what we're concerned about is to have a ratifiable collective agreement, to have this labor disruption over with, so we could all have the confidence in the postal system, in this public service. Then the fight will continue on for the Canadian postal workers to have these services that Canadians want. I believe. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I want to just ask you, I mean, in terms of the customer here, it's been 2 years, and I appreciate very much what you're saying about what it's been like for employees. I think for the customer, it has also been a lot of uncertainty. How do you, or what do you want to say to customers in terms of asking them to put their faith back in Canada Post and reliable delivery?
We had a labor disruption. Canada Post, as an employer, was not serious about negotiating a collective agreement that is ratifiable. Canada Post was not interested in having our wages to be to catch up with the cost of living. So we want a good public services. We want good jobs, because we're not only fighting for current union members, we're fighting for future postal workers, future members. We're fighting for the youth that need good Canadian jobs. Canada Post is owned by Canadians. It delivers to Canadians. We need this in our growing by Canada, for Canada economy. Unfortunately, the government has closed its eyes to expanding postal services. They need to open their eyes. They need to get to the realities. It's the middle class. These jobs that Canada Post has right now are good jobs for Canadians and need to continue on. Canada Post wanted to gigify. Canada Post create precarious part-time work where someone would need 3-4 part-time jobs to just be able to pay the rent. So that was unacceptable to postal workers, to our union, because we're not only fighting for our membership, we're fighting for the future membership. So the government needs to wake up and realize it's not these big, huge companies that are bringing, having Canada being successful as a nature. It's the middle class. Jobs such as in Canada Post are important.
I have to ask you one other question here, and I don't have very much time, but have you seen the details? I mean, the way I'm listening to you talk, there's a lot of things that I think yourself and potentially a lot of your colleagues feel strongly about. Do you know that have there been wins for your union, or have you made concessions? Do you have any sense of that yet, or are you still waiting to see that?
I have not seen the details. I will see the details once they hammer out the language. But I am optimistic. If our national executive board have gone to this point in where we have an agreement in principle, I'm confident that there is something that is there that would be ratifiable for our membership. So I'm optimistic, and I need to be optimistic because Canada Post needs to be successful because it's an integral part of Canada.
Well, thank you very much for that, Mark. Good luck, and we look forward, as I think everyone, of the customers and employees as well, to see what those details actually are. That is Toronto local president of the Canadian Union of Postal Workers, Mark Lubinski. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.